Okay, greetings patriots, starseeds, light workers, and of course our brave military. Welcome to 1776 United, and we are in a worldwide and galactic revolution. Now, I want to kind of decode some of this military drops that's been coming down and kind of paint you a picture exactly what's going on here. Okay, the White House had summit brought in basically Ukraine's Zelensky and the European leaders, and they ended up without having any kind of a peace deal unless Zelensky surrendered and faced war crimes tribunal. Well, you know that he's going to run to the hills for that. There were still 2,450 Russian children still missing, kidnapped by Zelensky's forces. Now, I got to dip in and out of these because I got to watch my words. In the early parts of the war, Russian special forces also uncovered thousands of kidnapped children, many from other countries, who were locked up in cages by the Zelensky military forces, trying to continue their money slush funds. In addition, the Russian forces exposed Western NATO-sponsored biolabs that were funded by the Biden administration through NATO, and then into these biolabs sponsored that were in Ukraine. Israeli scientists in Ukraine and Mossad agents in Ukraine were developing aerosolized smallpox, and of course that was all shut down. None of the above has been reported by the mainstream fake media, nor by the Biden controlled administration or deep state controlled administration and corrupt politicians who kept feeding Zelensky's U.S. taxpayers' money. So it was all the U.S. taxpayers' money that was funding all this to support his criminal regime. You would think they were in on it, but it's all about the money. They don't care about the people of Ukraine. No, NATO is not part of Ukraine, never will be. Crimea is Russian and always has been, okay? And everything will stay in Russian hands. The U.S. will stop funding the proxy war for Zelensky, groomed by the oligarchs, or who was groomed by the oligarchs, packaged by the NGOs, and sold by the press as a hero, okay? And you know how that all turned out. Will no longer be able to hide behind the myth. Ukraine has served as a money laundering capital for the elites, justification for mass censorship, and a political weapon used to crush dissent and other fundings worldwide. Those attending the White House summit, Ursula von der Leyen, Queen of the Unelected, also the architect of EU digital authoritarianism, and Emmanuel Macron, a failed banker turned war preacher, Olaf Scholz, barely audible, barely, these are all installed clowns, okay? And even if, we don't even know if they're really the original people. But all of these were summoned to the White House not to broker a deal. They were there to save their own hide, to beg for some kind of leniency. Their acting days are coming to an end, and Zelensky was dragged into the White House along with all of these and to answer for the biolabs and the missing billions of dollars that was spent in, they were holding them all accountable for the, billions of dollars that were spent in the militaries and where that money's went. And they have the Space Force right now following these, where the money, chasing the money, basically. The 17th letter on Telegram, okay. History is being written inside the White House as we speak, okay? Trump is not meeting Zelensky as an equal. He is confronting him as a figure of a collapsing globalist project that drained billions of dollars and spilled blood across Europe and served as one of the largest money laundering operations in modern history. His meeting is not about peace on the surface. It's about exposing who really holds the strings and why they are snapping. Trump already shows his hands in Alaska when he sat down with Putin without Ukraine and in the room. That terrified the elites because Ukraine has been their golden goose to pay out all their money and for them to pocket it. And these are the ones that you're seeing in the White House that are there now were the ones that were directly benefiting from all this laundered money, which they were pocketing. And I believe their accounts have all been seized. It hosted biolabs, weapon routes, child exploitation networks, and endless financial slush funds disguised as aid. Billions of taxpayers' dollars disappeared into black budgets, shell corporations, and offshore accounts. Brussels bureaucrats, Washington insiders, and defense contractors all benefited from this. All feasted on the carcass. Now, Trump is cutting them all off. This is why Zelensky was rushed to Washington today with Macron, Scholz, and Sunak, Melanie, and the EU administrators. They are not here to save Ukraine. They are here to save themselves. Zelensky's mask as a wartime hero is slipping and slipping fast. His demands for NATO membership and is a fantasy about reclaiming Crimea is all theater. Without America, Europe has no leverage. NATO without Trump is finished. Trump has already made it clear. Crimea is gone, and it's gone back to the Russians as it's always been part of Russia. Donbass will not return. It will stay in Russian hands. Ukraine's NATO dream is dead. Behind the Crimea, whispers grow louder. His generals are exhausted, his oligarch backers are nervous, and his regime is fractured. The offshore accounts stuffed with aid are being tracked by the Space Force. The puppet stage is collapsing, and the puppeteers are panicking. They're trying to find ways to run. This is not about Ukraine. It's about the global financial system and the elites chained to the war. Every dollar of aid was tied to the IMF schemes and European bond and kickbacks to contractors. It's such a fucking mess. Biden's handlers used Ukraine as a laundering pipeline. The EU used it as a justified digit ID rollouts and censorship. It's insane. So where we're at now is all about exposure. Okay, and people ask me, what about Canada? Well, and why Canada wasn't involved in all this other stuff. But Canada is, but they're insignificant, okay? Canada is part of the EU, or was, whatever, but Carney is only a placeholder. He's really insignificant in any of this stuff. This is all about exposure. Canada, it will be part of the 51st state because it is a national security, as long as they have the NAZIs in certain spots, and other communist CCP and authoritarians controlling the puppet strings of Canada. Canada's going to suffer. It will suffer along with all these other EU countries. Canada, Australia, all these countries are going to suffer until they get rid of their, the puppet, the puppet masters. Now, on the good side, there is a worldwide collective and clean out of everything that's going on, but they are taking the top of this, the snakeheads first. They're exposing all this stuff, the leaders that are there, such as Germany, France, England, and all these other clowns that came in Canada too, because they were all part of that. Now, not sure why Carney wasn't there, and it doesn't really matter because there's nothing he could say or do. All they're doing is trying to expose the failure banker that he is, and I believe that the most of the crown corporations have all been sold off, probably to the white hats, probably in order to release Canada and free up Canada as a whatever's left of the nation, and get them as a sovereign country again in a republic, as a 51st state, or however you want to call it. You want to call it the state of Canada or whatever, how you want to call it, but we will be going under the or joining, annexing in along with Greenland and stuff like that. It's all going to become one. I believe there's a lot of good things that are going to come out of that, but along with Australia and New Zealand and Germany and France, and these leaders that are running these countries are all being exposed now, and that is that's at the stage or the phase that we're in right now. Once they're exposed, then their world is coming down, it's crumbling, and it's getting to be more panicking, and every day that goes by is exposing more generals, more deep state generals, more deep state handlers that they're doing. Everything's being more and more exposed. Trump's got everything basically under control, as far as taking the deep state worldwide, systematically taking it down. And you're going to see in the coming days more and more exposure of all this happening. Now, there's a lot of good things that are coming through this. We have to look into this a bit. I mean, we have to not just basically sit back and observe. We're at the point right now where we cannot listen to all the rhetoric and bullshit that's on any of the mainstream media or even the social media right now, because it's all fucking poppycock. It's just absolute disinformation and lies. And you can bet one thing, the puppet masters that are puppeting these leaders that are at the White House right now, they will not go down, because they know what their destination is going to reveal for them. And it's not, they are going to be caught and executed for their crimes against humanity. So they are going to go out with the biggest bang as they can. So expect a lot of that maybe to happen. It's going to get maybe a little bit crazy, but one good thing for sure, they do not have control of this weather warfare much anymore. They're being, as they're trying to spray over these planes that are left of what they have, or they're trying to do a lot of poison spraying and chemtrailing, and they're being shot out of the skies. So we are in a war, yeah, and this is gonna continue, and prices, we just have to kind of hang in there until we get through all this. This is a 10,000 year globalist takedown, and we have to be we have to be as patient as we can. We've got there, we've made it, we've got through all the the bad part of it. It's we're at the end stages of this thing happening. Sarah, I believe, and all this new money will start flowing out there. You'll see a huge collapse, which has to happen. Okay, and from there, like I said, I don't know how much time I have on this. I'm at 16 minutes now, and we'll just hopefully it'll take, and we'll move on to the next one. Anyways, my time's up, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye now.